While not very successful to begin with, Disney California Adventure, or more commonly known as DCA, has grown into the strong independent park that is today. Consisting of over 25 rides and attractions, DCA offers some of Disney's best and most immersive thrill rides, including Radiator Springs Racers, Grizzly River Run, and more. Last month I was finally able to make it back to the park after over 3 years, and rode every ride there, with the exception of the Red Car Trolly because it's been closed this whole season. Despite this fact, I still had a great time at the park, and today we'll rank the top 20 best rides at Disney California Adventure. Number 20, Red Car Trolley. Of course, since I didn't physically get the chance to experience Red Car Trolley, by the looks of it this seems like the worst ride at the park. It only takes riders from the front entrance to the beginning of Avengers Campus, and you basically receive the same experience just by walking on those tracks. Number 19, Jesse's Carousel. If you've ridden any carousel on the planet, you know how these typically work, and Jesse's is no different. During your ride, Woody's roundup music plays through loudspeakers, immersing you further into the Toy Story environment. Besides this, there's nothing really too special with this ride. Number 18, Jumping Jellyfish. Out of all the rides at DCA, this was the only one which actually had no line. I just walked right into the ride vehicle from the queue line, which is a unique surprise I wasn't expecting, as I thought I would at least have to wait for the vehicles to finish the ride cycle. Anyhow, this is basically a turned down version of Guardians of the Galaxy, obviously meant for kids. We still get some pretty great views of the surrounding area, especially at the top of the towers. Number 17, Pixar Pal Around. Now I only did ride the non-swinging carriages, which could explain slow placement on this list, but to be fair, the non-swinging line was much shorter than the swinging, and I wasn't even planning on riding the Ferris wheel. Besides the great views of Disneyland Resort, it's a pretty boring ride, although it's really cool seeing the swinging carriages swing right next to you, barely avoiding a collision. Number 16, 15, and 14, Inside Out Emotional Whirlwind, Silly Symphony Swings, and Golden Zephyr. I'll be speaking about all these rides in the same category, as they basically do the exact same thing with minor differences. On Inside Out, you sit down in a box, Silly Symphony in a swing, and Golden Zephyr in a rocket. Despite all these different scene arrangements, they all have one thing in common, which is the action of going around the center tower in circles. This isn't even that thrilling, and these are definitely all filler rides at the park's lineup. Number 13, Mather's Junkyard Jamboree. I believe these rides have the same kind of concept as old school whip rides, like the ones you can find at Kennywood and Dorney. With this being said, the lateral force can be quite strong during some of the turns, resulting in a super fun experience for the whole family. And if you get prone to motion sickness, I wouldn't really worry about that too much on this ride. Number 12, Luigi's Honking Halloween. What a surprising experience. I probably love this ride a lot more than I should have, but for good reason. The trackless ride system is definitely unique, and throwing in an awesome soundtrack and interesting maneuvers, I found myself having a really good time on this ride. Number 11, Monsters Inc. Mike and Sully's Air Rescue. Monsters Inc. used to be one of my all-time favorite attractions at this park when I was a little kid, and still technically is to this day. None of the animatronics really have a lot of movement, but I love how this attraction takes place right in the middle of one of Pixar's best performing movies, Monsters Inc. Not to mention, the ride's backstory is quite unique, being Superstar Limo, and I love all the hidden nods to the former attraction. Number 10, Goofy Sky School. Goofy's is your typical Wild Mouse coaster, just with a ton of minor theming details, which actually makes this one of the better Wild Mouse out there. There are 2 very sizable drops, along with a few bunny hops and classic unbanked turns. And unlike some Wild Mouses, Goofy's doesn't stack its trains in the loading station, resulting in a much shorter line. Number 9, The Little Mermaid, Ariel's Undersea Adventure. Talk about underrated. The Little Mermaid doesn't just have a great story, but also amazing music scores, fast operations, and a ton of animatronics, including one of the best in the park, Ursula. The ride usually never has more than a 20-minute wait, which is perfect for hot summer days when everything else is packed, and I'll always make it urgent to ride, of course after everything that's coming right up. Number 8, Soaring Around the World. You may be disappointed to see Soaring not even in the top 5, but that's not saying it's a bad ride. It just goes to show how much I love everything else ahead of this. As for Soaring, it's a great flying theater that lets you travel around the world to some of the best destinations. They really immerse you into the atmosphere they're going for, with sounds, scents, and it's definitely a family favorite. Number 7, Toy Story Midway Mania. Despite this ride giving me a blister that I still sort of have today, Toy Story is a ton of fun. The different versions of You Got a Friend in Me play through all the games, giving a nice twist into an already amazing song. This usually has the longest wait through all Pixar Pier, and it's pretty easy to see why. It's just so much fun. Number 6, Grizzly River Run. I love water rides in general, so this is no exception. Grizzly River Run is my personal favorite rapids ride I've been on, as it accomplishes everything I love about these rides, plus more. The tunnels are great, showcasing theming and playing what sounds like a bear roaring. The 2 drops are both great, spinning your rough as you go down, and of course ending with a soaking finale. Number 5, Web Slingers of Spiderman Adventure. Before going into web slingers, I mainly only heard bad things about the ride, and how it was lacking in comparison to everything else. Well, these low expectations blew me right away as I entered the queue. I loved the music and theming, which made that 25-minute wait pass by. The pre-show was great, and there was nothing like that first-time anticipation when seeing the web vehicles. The ride itself was also a lot more fun than I thought, and if you're a Marvel fan like myself, I can almost guarantee you'll love this ride. Number 4, Incredicoaster. Incredicoaster isn't just one of my favorite rides at DCA, but also one of my favorite coasters in general. And while it has dropped down in my placement from the last time I rode it, it's still such an incredible ride. What they did when transforming California Screaming is amazing, and sealing the screen tubes and adding theming has been one of Disney's best ideas. This, combined with one of the best soundtracks, gives you an overall incredible coaster experience. Number 3, Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. Who doesn't love a good drop tower? Now who doesn't love a good dark ride? Now combine these two attractions and this is what you get. Guardians has a super pumped up and lively atmosphere, and your whole ride is basically a party. The inclusion of only seatbelts was a great choice by Disney, as you get some of the best airtime in the park. It's pretty easy to see why Guardians is most people's favorite drop tower, including mine. Number 2, Radiator Springs Racers. A lot of you probably wonder what number 1 can be, as Radiator Springs came in at number 2, and I honestly probably wouldn't expect you to guess it, and it's probably not the attraction you're thinking. Aside from this, Radiator Springs Racers has some of the best animatronics you'll find in the whole Disneyland Resort. The scenery is also incredible, and there's no doubt this land is what fixed DCA. The ride experience isn't the most thrilling, but it's definitely not what it's trying to accomplish. I can tell every visit why this always has the longest line, and I'm sure you can too. Number 1, Guardians of the Galaxy Monsters After Dark. The Halloween overlay for Guardians of the Galaxy comes as Monsters After Dark, and while the dropping system does not change one bit, the whole story does, including the pre-show, show screens, and soundtrack, which is definitely the main reason I put this at number 1. It's truly amazing, and I urge you all to come up to DCA next Halloween and experience it for yourself. Well, now you know how I rank the top 20 best rides at Disney California Adventure. Please feel free to leave your rankings in the comments down below, and remember to stay tuned for more uploads here from our coasters. So, thank you all so much for sticking to the end of the video, and I'll see you in the front row.